6.0, reconvene open session, procedural business, 5:30 p.m. 6.1, call to order. The Board of Trustees are hereby reconvening open session at 5:36 p.m. 6.2, roll call. Trustees to identify themselves by first and last name to formally establish a quorum. Jordan Zarati, Trustee Area 5, Running Springs, Arrow Bear Lake, Green Valley Lake.
Donna Riddle, Area 2.
Cindy Gardner, Trustee Area 3.
Scott Kraft, Trustee Area 4. Dr. William Mellinger, Trustee Area 1.
We have our quorum. With that, we'll move on to 6.3, Pledge of Allegiance, led by Ms. Nagersmith. Would you mind leading us?
Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll move on to 7.0, closed session report. 7.1, announcement of reportable actions taken during closed session. The board denied claim number 24501. That vote was unanimous. 8.0, public testimony. 8.1, public comment period for items listed on this agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter jurisdiction of the governing board. The public comment period is administered by state law and is the point in the meeting set aside for members of the public to share their opinions with the board. Open meeting laws do not permit the board to engage in dialogue or answer questions. Though it may not take action on non-agenda issues raised at the public comment period, the board, for example, may refer any matter to the superintendent for review or to take action or to direct staff to place a matter of business on a future agenda. Protocols for speakers. Any person who wishes to address the governing board on agenda and non-agenda items within the subject matter of their jurisdiction must complete a speaker's form and submit it to the executive secretary of the superintendent before the meeting is called to order. Individual speakers are allowed 3 minutes to address the board on each agenda item. The board limits the total time for public input on each agenda item to 20 minutes. Speakers who have complaints against board members or staff are encouraged to seek resolution to those complaints by using the Rim of the World Unified School District written complaint procedure rather than orally addressing them in a meeting. The board will not respond to such complaints until the applicable complaint procedure, BP/AR 1312.1, has been followed and has reached the board level. Where a complaint concerns a district employee identifiable by name, position, or other facts, the board cannot respond until proper written notice has been given to the employee pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. Quorum. The governing board is interested in the ideas and opinions of all stakeholders and endeavors to incorporate community views into its deliberations and decisions. At the same time, it must be able to conduct its business in an organized and efficient manner, free from material disruption. Therefore, in accordance with Board Bylaw 9323 and Government Code Section 54957.9, audience members may not disrupt, disturb, or otherwise impede the orderly conduct of this meeting. Open meeting laws do not confer any privilege or protection for expression beyond that otherwise provided by law. The public's understanding and cooperation are appreciated. With that, we'll move on to 8.2, public comments. We have a couple of public comments tonight. First up, we have Samuel Threadgill, representing topic, Cal OSHA heat illness prevention in indoor places of employment regulation for July 24th, 2024 ruling. If you'd like to come on down, you are more than welcome. And if you'll press the speaker button, it'll turn red so that you'll be able to speak. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Samuel Threadgill, and I serve on the executive board and oversee communications for the PTA at Valley Haven Shaman Elementary School. On July 23rd of this year, Cal OSHA implemented a heat illness prevention in indoor places of employment regulation that applies to most indoor workplaces where the temperature reaches 87 degrees or higher, including schools such as ours. During previous heat waves, Valley Haven Shaman Elementary recorded sustained indoor temperatures exceeding 95 degrees in the classrooms and common areas. Infrastructure isn't present in all classrooms to allow portable air conditioning or fans to circulate air. The regulations apply to temperatures that would be sustained for greater than 15 minutes at a time, which means the historic cycling of students in and out of the air-conditioned computer lab would still expose students and teachers to high temperatures above the regulated time limit. 2 questions. If one does not already exist, has the school administration taken steps to implement a heat illness prevention plan for indoor classroom spaces? including a temperature monitoring plan during heat waves, so to be in compliance with Cal OSHA. And secondly, are HVAC systems to prevent these dangerous working and learning conditions a priority if the bond measure is approved? Just to be clear, per Cal OSHA, our schools need to be in compliance as of 23 days ago. Appreciate everybody's time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Our next public comment is from Priscilla Williams, representing the public topic for VOE classrooms. Please come on down. Same procedure. Oh, it looks like it's already on, so you'll be able to speak by video.
I'm a participant in River of the World Educational Foundation, but I'm not representing them today. But, we are attending the back to school events, and I was made aware that, VOE is in need of carpeting in one of their classrooms. And I was wondering if there was any additional information, because I talked to the president of the Morning Sunrise Rotary Club, and she said, we need some additional information in terms of the size of the carpet, the labor cost, the cost of the material, and possibly they may be able to do something. So I'm here. And I met the lady, last name is McKay. And her son was there. And it's just one of those things I feel we need to do something, if at all possible, in that case. And I see on this that CAG is in need of carpeting too. So for their library. So is that something that's my question. Is that something that you have some material with regards to the cost of the material, the labor, that type of thing?
Thank you very much. So I will, if you don't mind, let me talk to someone they'll provide a follow-up to those inquiries.
Let's go ahead and contact my office and we'll set up a time to talk. Let's contact my office and we'll set up a time to meet.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll move on to 8.3 Room Teachers Association, RTA representative, and California School Employee Association, CSEA representative. You have a speaker from RTA at this time. Madam President.
Hello, everyone. I'm just here to say, welcome back. Welcome back. We are starting with full enthusiasm. The classes are full, caseloads are full. The cell phone policy, I can only speak for the high school because we haven't had our first rep council yet, but we are seeing kids smiling, engaging, laughing, and it's a really good thing. But looking forward to a good year, working collaboratively with you guys, and welcome back.
Thank you very much.
I think it's like that one.
We have a speaker representative from CSEA at this time. No speaker at this time. With that, we'll move on to 9.0, reports and presentations. 9.1, governing board members. Would anyone like to kick us off after break?
Sure. Amanda, you already said it, but welcome back. It's exciting to see the students coming back, and all parents and teachers and staff across the board. In fact, I'd really like to open with thanks to Dr. Sevillano for the welcome back breakfast for staff, and for all of the staff that participated in putting that together. We have some great people that put that together, including, I think we should thank all of the RIM staff. There was a lot of work to set up all those tables and the flooring and all that, and the microphone actually worked. And so, Dr. Sevillano, I want to say first off, thank you for thinking about community. Thank you for really working to try to draw everyone together as a school district. I really appreciate that. I actually frankly learned some things about AI. I was surprised at the small number of teachers across the country that work with AI, and I was probably concerned about the number of students that great percentage. In fact, I actually thought it might be more than 49 or 47%, whatever that number was, of students that are actually using AI. That was interesting. I will say this, Dr. Sevillano, as I was sitting there that morning, I was thinking, this is great for our teachers, but I was wondering how it was playing for our bus drivers and for other staff like that. But I still think that you did a great job of trying to draw our community together, the full team. And I want to express a great appreciation for that. I had the privilege of taking a large pot of coffee to Valley of Enchantment Elementary School for their opening day, which meant I got to be there and saying welcome to people and saying hello. Reminded me of the first day back after COVID when we were out there on the outside and saying welcome back, because we're excited to have students and staff back on campus. And I was thinking about that as I was there at VOE, welcoming the best elementary staff. Sorry for the rest of you, but right. But seriously, we have great staff all across the district. Daniel, this was not in reply to you. I had this already in my notes. The bond is so important. That's why, and it's important because of the air conditioning needs in our classrooms. And those needs were there well before we started seeing the temperatures rising even last year. Right? It's really, really serious. And it is one of the top priorities for doing the bond. In fact, if you notice the percentage of the funds that are going for infrastructure and air conditioning and all that, and ventilation, and in my mind, all that, not only is it about providing good classroom environment, but it's about security. Because when you have to open up the classrooms and open up doors in order to allow cool air in, it's like, even as we were just chatting before this about what does that mean that there's the new requirements. Okay, so that means move students to a cooler place. Bethany, could you tell me where a cooler place is on VOE's campus? Because we've looked at that, we've set up a whole plan, and that's why I'm hoping that parents are really going to assist in saying, we need this bond because we have to give those students a better environment. And the staff, let's face it, it's for everybody that's there. Everyone needs a safer environment. First off, for just heat, but secondly, a safe environment so that people aren't coming in. I was also thought I'd note that it was interesting trying to push the button to get into the office. And there were a whole bunch of people in the office, and because of that, I couldn't get into the office with the coffee. So I'm standing there holding the big pot. But that's interesting because it said we have a new level of security at the front door. And I appreciate that. We're not waiting. We're doing what we can. But then another issue, and that is that one of the classrooms that has one of the, do we call them an air conditioning unit that we put in there, Jim? So one of the classrooms that has one of the air conditioning units in there, and it has helped, but somebody tried to break in to that classroom and actually tore open some of the structure, if you will, around the air conditioning unit. Fortunately, they were not able to get into the classroom, but it just says we've got to get the bond passed. All of us need to work together to that end and do the things necessary to provide the best possible environment for our students. Thank you, Daniel, for expressing that concern. And again, these were my comments already. They're not really in response to what you've asked.
Thank you. Yeah, we can move down. the line.
I was gonna also talk about the bond, but using that perspective, so I'm not gonna cover that again. But the bond is heavy on my heart. I'm not gonna go into all the details, but it seems like last year, we took care of so much last year, and I'm really happy with the accomplishments that we have. We have really good leadership in place. We've moved some people around, and I feel like our district is lined up to do really well, but we're missing one important piece, and that is taking care of the students. And I think this year we need to make just the students the priority, and that means the bond, updating our facilities and making them so that they're safe. Just take care of the students first this year. I think they deserve that. And that's the direction I think we need to go with the bond and use that because it benefits them, it benefits the staff as well. But the students are the priority. And I've always felt that. And I think this year we need to make sure that takes place and that we push the bond. So I wish I could be there next Tuesday. It's my anniversary. I'll be in worse trouble that I'm already in all the time. So I got to take care of that. But she's down in San Diego. She's not listening right now. So the one other thing I wanted to say is, you know, for me, I had some learning difficulties when I was a kid. And when we moved up here, everything kind of fell in place for me. And the big thing was that I got involved. And anybody that has students out there, I would encourage you to get your students involved. It sets them up so much in life. They learn so much about their character, about being accountable, and teaches them the tools that they need to be successful. You learn a lot in the classroom, but when you're involved in activities, you get that so much more, whether it's band or drama or sports. Get involved, get your students involved. To me, it was kind of like, I kind of equated to it, it's kind of like the years are like 7 or 10-fold. So for every year that the student spends in junior high, it's not as much, but when you get to high school, it's like they learn so much more. It's like 10-fold. It sets them up for the rest of their life. How hard they're going to work, how successful they want to be, and the accountability and the character that it builds. It builds such a strong character for these students to be involved. So please don't let your kids sit back and not do that because they're going to benefit by being involved. So I encourage you all to just make the students a priority this year. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm sorry I missed the welcome back breakfast. That's my first time ever missing it, but I was back east from my cousin's memorial service and we spent time with family that week. So I'm sorry I missed it and the new setup and the presentations because everything I've heard is very positive feedback. I do want to thank PTA for putting on the breakfast again, as they always do. They do a stellar job and they get up really early to make sure that happens. So I want to thank them, the PTAs, for doing that. I want to also say I'm really excited that August 30th, we have a game against our rival, Big Bear. And that is going to be so fun. And the energy is going to be so great to have this rivalry back. And I'm excited. I'm going to be working the game. So I'm going to watch the whole thing. So I just want to make sure everybody, is on their best behavior so we can keep this rivalry going. That's a big key. Let's keep it going because it's really fun. Rivalries, friendly rivalries are the best. I want to give a shout out to the bus drivers. I went to MPH to get some signatures on PTA paperwork, and I see Jen and Deborah at the front, and they're like, "What are you guys doing here? What's going on?" And what I was told is that they were making sure that the students were getting on the right bus, and that the buses were all, the kids were being shuffled to make sure that they were on the right bus on the right route and everything like that. And I just appreciated that extra attention to detail that our bus drivers take to make sure that they're taking care of our kids. So I wanted to give a shout out. You're not unrecognized. The efforts that you guys do really are appreciated. And then Sorry, I've been having sinus problems. And to piggyback, because I was going to talk about the bond too, so I'll do a different aspect than has been mentioned. I just want to say that we have an opportunity. The state finally put in a facilities bond on the ballot, and it provides matching funds to what you're doing. So we could potentially expand the amount of projects that we do. If we pass this bond, we have the ability to apply for the state facility money and be able to really do a good amount of extra projects than just the bond itself will cover. So I think that's really important. Then when we talk about a district like ours, we need to maximize our opportunities, grants. And this is one way that we can maximize our dollars for our kids in improving their learning conditions. The other thing that this does is that when we have to pay for new carpet or make repairs and really try to improve or modernize our facilities, that money comes from not a special pot that the state gives us. It comes from the same pot that we paid for materials and supplies in classrooms that our our employees are paid out of, sports are paid out of. All these things, it's the same pot of money. So if we can take care of some of our important modernization and repairs with bond money, it alleviates the stress on the general fund, and we can do more for our kids. We can do more for our employees. So it's really important that you see the cause and effect. This bond is not just about facilities. It's about taking care of our kids, as it's been stated, but also making sure that our classrooms have what they need and making sure that our employees are taken care of as well. So that's another aspect to this bond and why it's so important. The state's not going to help us out, guys. We got to do it. The community has to band together to make this important. I know that the PTA, Mountain Council PTA, is going to be sending out an email being proposed this weekend to the PTA presidents, asking them to put the bond on their agendas for discussion and possible support. So I know that based on the response from PTA boards, yes, air conditioning and HVACs, new carpeting, modernizing classrooms, very important to them. So I think it's going to have a lot of parent support. I'm really happy that they are motivated the way they are right now. So thank you.
Thank you. Tom?
And repeat everybody else's welcome back as well. It's wonderful to see everybody here. I want to piggyback off of a little bit of what was already being said, and hopefully I'll keep it relatively brief. As Cindy mentioned regarding the bond and the state having matching funds, what that means is that that money that is going to be hopefully made available by the state is only going to be made available to school districts who have bond money, have already spent money. It's a matching dollar for dollar. So those monies will not be available to our community without us passing this bond. So it ends up being a lovely multiplier for school districts that have skin in the game. And so that adds to the importance of us being able to maximize our opportunities now. It's very hard for students to learn when their environment is not conducive to learning. I've been a teacher in that teaching environment. It's especially hard to start out a school year that way as a math teacher, where I know it might be kind of surprising, but for not all students, math is their favorite thing. So being able to start out the school year in a way that you're setting norms and being able to set practices in an learning environment which is conducive to learning, meaning that you're able to have an environment that is comfortable, is incredibly important. And I think all of us, I think everybody in this room and beyond understands the importance. In order to do it, we need to be able to have the money and the support. So one of the things that also has been clear to me in this past week, and I come back to it in a moment, is how as a community we lead with the heart. And so passing this bond will be in a way for our community to show their love and support for our students. So we're going to need help in getting that word out. As far as leading with the heart, I had the opportunity to go to the Welcome Back Breakfast and to see just how everybody was so excited to see each other, the excitement in getting caught up, and then the source of discussion based on, yes, people had, not everybody, but most people had the summer off, but their brains were still in school. They were still in the classroom. There was rest and hopefully some rejuvenation going on, but their heart was still with their vocation. It's like, what can we do for our kids? So as a staff, I'd say pretty much everybody in every position is thinking that way. Going to back to school nights, I went to BOEs, which happens before school starts, and it's such a fantastic program. You see kids all excited to be back on campus, seeing friends, reconnecting. The teachers obviously love what they're doing. Their level of enthusiasm of being there in the evening before school has even started to welcome their new kiddos, introduce themselves to parents. It's a fantastic program. Not only that, community shows up for it. REMED Foundation was there, Mountain Counseling was there, RIM Family Services were there, along with a lot of other organizations. Food Truck was there, and Rotaries were there. I'm going to be leaving out organizations, but I know, okay, I'll stop with that. But the love that's shown on that campus at that time is absolutely extraordinary. Going to Mountain Highs and RVAs back to school night and having the families there. And again, the staff were very, very enthusiastic to be able to make sure their students are having an amazing experience. We're leading with the heart. As a community, we're going to have to come together and make sure that we're filling out the opportunities so that our kids are able to receive the best that they can get. They do everything they can. We need to do everything we can for them. So just wanted to mention that. Oh, also leading with the heart. I had the joy of watching a slideshow about our ELOP program from over the summer, our Extended Learning Opportunity Program at summer school. And they did such phenomenal things. Staff incredibly enthusiastic, and these kids got to do robotics. They got to play with dirt. They got to do all of these experiments. They learned and they grew and they connected and they developed. And it's a fantastic program that is going to continue on through the school year as an after school program. And I want to give a shout out to Kaylee and her staff because, and also actually the bus drivers were getting the kids to and from their home communities to school. Fantastic program. And again, it's being done with love. And I have no doubt the school year is starting off with the right, in the right direction. We have great staff and we're going to be doing great things. I'm incredibly optimistic for this year to come. So thank you. Thank you everybody for being here and have a wonderful, wonderful school year.
Thank you. I'll round this out. In case it was not clear, HVAC and AC is prioritized in the bond. So it is listed out as a large piece of the use of bond funds. At our June 27th board meeting, before we adjourned for July, we got a master's facility plan that broke down detailed needs across the district facilities wise. And HVAC was a large line item, approximately $24 million, which if you calculate that, it'd be about 65% of our total LCFF budget, which is a large expenditure. So, so to answer the question, yes, that is definitely part of the plans for bond usage. And early last year, we also did develop a heat illness prevention guidance, but I know that our district administration are also currently working on updating guidance, especially in response to the updated regulations. So I wanted to provide some clarification and insight there as well. I won't add too much else. It's nice to, go to the back to school nights and our welcome back breakfast. That was wonderfully done and executed. A great speaker. I think our teachers will have a lot of powerful tools to leverage in the new year. But just to, yes, summer, hopefully those that had a break were, had a really lovely vacation, but work did not stop over summer. I just want to highlight, the ELOP program that Jordana was speaking to, but also our incredible CNS team. We handed out over 15,200 meals during summer to our children across the RIM. And I say children 18 and under, and I say that not RIM students, I mean children 18 and under. Our program that is funded, that we applied for, received, did all the training, and put into practice, was able to use and deliver over 15,000 meals to our youth across the mountain. It doesn't matter if you're a RIM student or not, that those meals were available to everyone that lives up here. So I'll just end with that positive note, and I'm looking forward to the school year that lies ahead. With that, I'll move things over to 9.2, our superintendent report, Dr. Kalsadian.
Good evening, everybody. How's everyone doing tonight? Nodding their heads? Yes? Okay, good. I would like to publicly thank and commend our dedicated support staff, teaching staff, principals for a smooth opening of the school year. What I saw, I visited every school on that day, a lot of driving that morning. And what I saw was really staff really creating a welcoming environment for our students and families. I mean, that's very important that we set that tone early, and it was very evident in all the schools. So thank you for the work for creating that welcoming environment. I also want to just touch on, I know we've talked about the welcome back breakfast, but I would like to just really touch on a few things there. The theme was inspiration. By the way, you got a chance to see my high school graduation picture. That was not very inspirational, long hair, big collars, but it was definitely unbelievable. Thank you, Jeff, Whiteside, for encouraging. Okay. Also, including the discussion on core beliefs. What do we believe in as a district? What are we going to believe in when we guide our work? How are we going to address student needs? And I think that really was a powerful discussion with the staff. And we even had parents who were having those discussions as well. I was really impressed with the level of discussions about meeting student needs, really coming from perspective of what can we do in addition to what we're already doing. And wrapping ourselves around core beliefs will guide our work. I also was inspired by the AI presentation. Lots of times you provide a presentation, and I agree, we probably could have had a little more balance on district efficiency using AI, but really for staff to be able to take AI and take it directly back to the classroom. I want to thank Mr. Malone for his efforts to kind of put some guidelines around that as well. And we've got some work to do there as a district, ensure that, as we implement, that it becomes a very useful tool for teaching and learning. And it has a lot of upside, but there are things that we have to put in place to ensure that we don't go too far in one direction before we're ready for that. So maybe some more professional development along that line. We'll continue to support staff. Also want to thank the community and business partners who came out to the welcome back breakfast that morning. It was great to see you there. And they sponsored the tables there and donated prizes for our staff for the drawings. And so thank you so much for supporting that. It really did feel like a sense of community that day. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Saviano. With that, we'll move on to 9.3, our legislative reports. Cindy, do you have anything that you'd like to open us up with? I have some add-on items.
Sure. I just got literally just a couple hours, like an hour ago, an update from Capital Advisors, who is the lobbyist for the county, and I'm going to say that so I get the updates on some of the interesting bills that the bill mandating to put in place policies restricting cell phones or banning cell phones on campus. That one has moved forward, and it would require that the policy be updated every 5 years. But the governor has already put out letters to all schools to urging them to implement such policies. So I'm excited that we jumped on this prior to all of this legislation, and I understand that not only are teachers appreciative, but for the most part, parents are as well. Very minimal pushback so far. So I'm going to knock on wood from parents on this. I think that it creates a much better learning environment. As Jordana talked about, learning environments are very important. So I thought that was interesting.
Cindy, what was that bill?
That bill, hold on, is BB 3216. And then a bill that, no, that's okay. That's okay. The mandatory kindergarten effort stalls. There were two bills that were introduced both in the Senate and the Assembly that would have required child to have completed 1 year of kindergarten before admitting or advancing to the first grade. So that has stalled, not moving forward. And then as we go forward, we'll get more information and I'll pass that on. I was going to forward this whole thing to you because some of them is involving stuff that has to do with labor and, that kind of stuff. So I'll forward this to you, but I literally got it at 5:17 p.m. Sandabs will start meeting again in September, so we'll get an update on where the last set of bills are moving forward because they have a deadline to reach the governor's desk, and then he has a deadline to sign them or veto them into law. So we'll see how it goes. And then the whole process starts again in January and for a 2-year cycle, and as many as 2,500 bills were introduced the last cycle. So quite a lot of legislation. I know that CSBA and us, we are pushing hard for legislators to think about the cost of implementing bills. So many bills do not have cost attached, money attached to them, and it's up to the district to absorb the costs. One of them has to do with electric buses, and I am not opposed to electric buses. I am not. I am just saying is that when you are forcing a district to comply with the mandate and you don't put any money attached to it, it becomes an unfunded mandate that now, guess what? You've got to figure from your general fund dollars, how are you going to make that work? And I think it's unfortunate that happens over and over and over again. So just CSBA, Sandabs, we are always advocating, put the money into the bill if you feel strongly about it, and don't do this on the backs of the districts, especially since most districts in the state of California are in declining enrollment and have very, very tight budgets like we do. Vernon, you want to add?
Can I ask another question? What has come of the desire to reduce the number of reports that the districts need to do?
That's moved forward.
It is moving forward.
Yes. We had a conversation, 5 of us met with Senator Chorlov, and we talked about that bill, 13 something. But anyways, she was on the Yucatan Mesa school board before she became our state senator. And she is very aware of the amount of staff reports that are required to be submitted. And so that strong advocacy by CSBA to ask the state to list all the reports that are required by the school districts for everything and get that list together so that when legislators want to introduce a bill with an accountability piece, they can be directed to this report. What you're asking for already exists or could be modified. And you're not asking for Jenny or Jennifer, Mrs. Whiteside, here, do another report, even though it's sort of redundant to 3 other reports I do. So it is moving forward, and it does have a lot of support. Probably there is no money attached to that one, so why would he veto that?
Well, two advocacy updates that I'll share. Thank you for that, Cindy. I want to go back to HVAC real quick. I missed a point on that. And we've been talking about the bonds, and we've been talking about heat illness prevention guidance and whatnot. But I also want to emphasize what we have done as a district. So from an advocacy perspective, we have been pursuing HVAC, particularly AC, for the last many years, I'll say, at least since we've been on the board, because this is a recurring issue that we know affects us. Not just us either. There are large districts like Huntington Beach, or is it Long Beach?
It's both actually.
Both that, large beach districts that were built at a time when weather was much cooler out in the beach area. So we're not alone, and we have some power in numbers in that advocacy work. Fortunately, none of that has come to fruition in the terms of here's some money to install AC. Most grants that we've pursued or looked at also have efficiency requirements attached to them that prevent RIM from applying for them. So a lot of these grants are saying, upgrade your HVAC systems. We'll give you tons of money to get all of the new AC units that you need. But the requirement is you must reduce your energy usage in purchasing those. Our problem is that we can't get in that door because installing AC, because we don't have it, increases energy usage, no matter how efficient those units are. So that has been a constant thing that has stalled us every time monies are come out that might help or assist districts get AC. So those are some of those advocacy efforts. I will say that we will continue, irrespective of the bond, advocacy efforts to get AC, because that is not a guarantee for us. We can't, work under the assumption that this bond will pass. We have to keep working as if we don't have it, as we have not for the past several years. And if you want to add something, you want?
Just related to that is, it isn't just having the HVAC units, it's having the infrastructure to support them. They've learned that our electrical panels do not support having the AC. So it isn't just a matter of getting independent units and plugging them in. We have a lot of work to do, especially since we have cement, brick infrastructure. So again, the complexities we're dealing with isn't just a matter of getting some portable AC units and plugging them in. It's a much larger undertaking.
And Jordan, to piggyback on what you said, Senator Chilavogue is really cognizant of the fact that there's huge gaps between districts that cannot pass bonds and those districts that seem to pass the bonds for parcel taxes very easily. It's creating great gaps in school facilities. The five of us that were in a meeting with her, we started having a conversation of how can we change that? How can we change the dialogue? And one of the suggestions was treating schools as part of the infrastructure and putting them into a infrastructure bill where you are not creating the competition of trying to pass bonds or parcel tax to modernize your facilities or repair your facilities. So advocacy continues on. Will that happen overnight? That's a dialogue that continues, but at least it's starting now. And Senator Chilavogue is very interested in how do we have this conversation and what are the ideas that can be brought to the table to be able to modernize and repair our schools without having to be dependent on passing bonds and parcel taxes.
And to back up that good faith effort that we've seen from Senator Chilavogue, that brings us to my second update that I wanted to share, and that is about the piece of legislation that we helped write and sponsor as River of the World Unified School District with Senator Chilavogue, and that's SB 1429. As a result of these March storms that happened last year, a lot of reports and information a lot of committees, investigations of what happened, what could have been done better, how can a government improve in general. I know that Dr. Mellinger was part of one of those committees for the county supervisor's office at that time. As a result of those reports, we were able to work with Senator Chilavogue to say, who reached out to us and said, based on this report, how can we help? How can we help to make sure that your district, for example, might be better prepared in an instance like this? One of the things that came out of that was a suggestion to say, right now, education code does not cover ADA reimbursement for snowstorms. It covers ADA loss for almost every other type of natural disaster. But snowstorms is not covered under education code today as a reimbursable disaster. So we worked with the senator to write that and to get it into SB 1429 that says, hey, if your district suffers from ADA loss, enrollment, or sorry, attendance loss essentially, because of a natural disaster such as a snowstorm, you will be able to apply for reimbursement for that. So it's not a fault of the district that your attendance went lower. It was a fault of a natural disaster. The bill was eventually amended to expand it to include the inability to use facilities due to a natural disaster. Snowstorms was also absent from that piece of ed code. So that was also covered. I'm pleased to say that it was, drafted in the Senate, passed through, went to the House amended it. It came back to the Senate for concurrence, and today it passed the floor. And so now it goes to the governor's desk for signature. So it's a huge piece of advocacy work. I'm not aware of any other school district that has helped write and sponsor legislation. Most districts pass, amendments to, resolutions to support or oppose a measure. This is one of the first instances I'm aware of where we've been asked to sponsor it. So exciting.
And if you saw the update from CSBA, they actually named Room of the World Unified School District as being front and center in advocacy of legislation and specifically naming this bill, but we're in the latest update from CSBA.
One additional thing, well, just changing the subject a little bit, I was very pleased to see in one of our weekly updates in June that there will be a financial literacy requirement starting 2030 for all high school graduates. So it'll be a one semester class. They're working on, well, I'm sure they're at this point forming committees to develop a framework to determine what the class is going to look like. But it's something that I've been wishing for ever since I got into teaching 20 plus years ago, is I feel that there's a strong need within, oh gosh, any kind of education environment that we graduate our students with having them well educated on how to control their own financial world. And so that is going to be coming. It's going to take 6 years before that requirement kicks in, but I'm very, very pleased that that is now a state requirement.
I'm not reading that with the grade because I agree. It's just, this is an example of a great piece of legislation in terms of its intent and purpose. But again, no money was put into this bill. So it will be the responsibility of the district to meet the requirements of this bill with the curriculum to be purchased and implemented. And so that's what I'm talking about. Great pieces of legislation need to make sure that you have money attached to it and you're not making a district whose general fund is already in very tight have to pay for something, even if it's a good piece of legislation.
There is an irony that it's a financial literacy requirement that does not have fiscal soundness to it.
Way to go, Jordan, and end that talk. That was cool.
With that, we'll go ahead and move on. So thank you all for that. Let's move on to 9.4. I'm just noting that we have a new student board representative, that's Ethan Smith. He will be starting with us in September in our September board meeting. So we'll be looking forward to welcoming him to the guys. Moving on to 9.5, personnel services, an update on the current status of personnel training. Hanson, Associate Superintendent, Personnel and School Services.
Hi, good evening, board, and good evening, everyone. Before I get started, I would like to recognize a person in our audience, and that is our new community outreach coordinator that, with the blessing of the board and section 11.5 of the personnel page, will approve Miss Jackie Benson as our new community outreach coordinator. Miss Jackie Benson is right over here. Welcome. All right. Let's go ahead and get started on the personnel report. This is from August 15th, most current numbers of August 15th, 2024. Before get into the numbers, I'd just like to thank the personnel department. Miss Deborah Messina, I said Hastings. Miss Deborah Messina, she's in charge of student services and personnel specialist. And Morgan Haley, who's the coordinator of personnel, he's pretty much our credential analyst. And then myself, don't need a title. The personnel department has hired a total of 18 new contracted employees since June 1st, 2024. Of those 18 new hires, 11 are certificated, 7 are classified. We've had 6 change of status. That means from one position to another. These are contracted positions. These are not our substitute positions. Throughout the 23-24 school year, the personnel department for contracted positions hired 43 new employees, processed 8 retirees, 42 resignations, and 58 change of statuses. Those are what happened last year during 23-24. And of those 8 retirements, we didn't have any teacher retirements before the June 30th deadline. So most of those retirements were classified employees. We didn't have one certificated retirement at last year's board meeting in June. We currently have 5 open certificated positions. We have our VAPA, which is our visual arts and performing arts teacher. We have our VAPA 40%. That's 40% of the contracted position. Elementary teacher on special assignment, which is our TOSA/educational coaches. Moderate teacher over at LAE, and our speech language pathologist that we've been desperately trying to hire. And we've been in constant contact with RTA. So I just want to say thank you, RTA, for keeping an open mind, because we both understand the urgency for a SLP. Currently in the interview process, we have a VAPA full-time interview. I think that's tomorrow. Is that tomorrow? We have that tomorrow. And then we have an elementary teacher on special assignment. That will be next Tuesday. We'll be conducting those interviews. The people that we have quite several internal candidates. So that's good to see on the elementary TOSA side of it, / instructional coaches. And a mild to moderate LAE position. We interviewed for it about a week ago. We didn't have anyone show up for the interviews. However, more candidates come in. And that's what we're kind of getting into right now, is people are putting it down for the unemployment, but we'll keep on fighting a good fight, right, Ms. Monto? There you go. All right. Our substitute staffing. So our substitute staffing, we currently have 73 guest teachers, and 24 instructional assistants, 20 noon duties, 14 custodians, 18 clerical, 7 health aides, 5 security, 11 CNS, and we currently have 10 employees going to the board in September. This is all from our substitute pool to ensure that we have coverage across the board, not just in the classroom, but also up in the front office. And security, we got those 5. We started doing that last year, and the 5 security are have the license for the state of California, so they can jump in anytime without any hesitation. How we promote our job openings, we continue to go through EdJoin, and our local paper will be, we put it out in the local paper twice a year around our hiring time. Parent Square has been a useful addition to positions. Thank you, Mark Malone, for your assistance with doing that as well. District email, we send out a hyperlink on the district website, and we create banners. You see them around, and our job fair that we go to twice a year. We're looking for more job fairs, and something that we just added. We partnered with San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools for their classified program, to where we take classified employees that are working towards a bachelor's into a program to get their teaching credential, and it's through a scholarship. And so that MOU will be going to board next in September. And we just talked about this, and we had that webinar. It's a great program. So we'll be partnering up with the rest of the San Bernardino County schools about promoting our classified staff and to become teachers with a scholarship. And that's all. That is the personnel report.
I have a question. Bus
Yes, ma'am.
drivers, subs for bus drivers? How are
Yes,
we doing on that?
it wasn't on there.
Are they somewhere that I didn't see?
No, we missed the bus drivers. We do have sub bus drivers, and I know we're currently hiring bus drivers. Ms. Kay, while you're back there, you want to help me out on that?
I saw Deb training one in the Rim High parking lot the other day, so.
7. 6 months.
Wow.
It's so many mandated hours and training, it takes a long time.
And one thing I do want to say about the transportation department, Deb Rogers is our new bus driver trainee, so that has helped hopefully speed up the process. So hopefully we'll get those subs going here pretty quick. Any other questions?
I really appreciate the updates. Thank you.
Thank you.
9.6 educational services, an update on the current status of technology at Room to World Unified School District. Mark Malone, Director of Technology Services.
Well, 2 places is easy for you.
Well, I'm waiting. Gotta do something.
Good evening, board and cabinet. Everyone's doing well. Here's my yearly technology update in August. It used to be in October, but we changed it to August. So thank you for adding that to my plate. But I like it because it's done and you get to see everything that we did in the summertime. So, like you guys mentioned, some departments leave in the summer. IT never leaves, ever. I should have a cot in my office, but you know how that is. So we'll put it in the budget. Yeah, we'll put it in the budget. Okay. I do have an office. So technology overview, I'm Mark Malone, Director of Technology Services. I manage our internal network infrastructure, all district devices, oversee rostering of employees and students to a third-party platform. I'm our Aries administrator. I coordinate our help desk. Then I have 2 site technicians, Lori Fisher. She works at the elementary schools. And she is a phenomenal person and she loves what she does and she is a gem and she's wonderful. Second, we have Charles Puritan, who works at our secondary sites, district office, MOT. He's also great at what he does. And they are both, you know, they just jump in and get it done. And that's what I love about my team. So far, since July 1st, we've done 370 tickets. These last few days, we've had over 120. And just going back to the welcome back breakfast, while that presentation, the AI presentation was happening, I got 17 tickets in from teachers that are saying, can we get brisk? Can we get brisk? When is brisk happening? Can we get brisk? Can we get it by tomorrow? Can we get it by the first day? So I think by about 11 o'clock, a half hour after the presentation ended, we had rolled it out and they love it. It's a really neat program for them. Back to the presentation, we try to resolve our tickets the same day. About 70% of them are resolved in under 3 hours. And that's just myself, Charles, and Lori just really, you know, we're a customer service department, so we want to get it done. We want to get it done fast for them so that we're not causing the issue.
Quick question. How's RVA covered in when tickets come in?
Oh, is RVA covered?
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
sorry,
what do you mean?
because you had listed all the other schools. I was wondering where.
Oh, who covers RVA? We all cover RVA.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yes. Not that we single out RVA, but most of the time it's, students having problems, so we can, jump on a call or call the parents. But it's, RVA is one of our least, technically challenged groups. So, I think the parents understand that they're going to be using a computer, so they need to know how to use the computer. So they're, just leave it there. Last year, we repaired over 200 Chromebooks, saving the district on or about $7,000, doing it in-house. Like I said, the IT department works all summer. So this past summer, we updated 5,700 Chromebooks. We updated 400 iPads. We updated and inventoried 97 Chromebook carts. Each cart has roughly 36 Chromebooks inside of them. Also last year, you passed the 2-to-1 initiative, which we purchased a little bit over 1,400 Chromebooks. Those were all provisioned this summer between Brim High School, MPH, and Mountain High. So we provisioned those and got those out to the schools. Readiness days at the high school, it was just freshmen. I think we sent out 120 Chromebooks then. MPH probably did 300. I don't know how many RVA did. Well, RVA and MHS don't have a readiness day, so they didn't get any that day. But I want to thank the principals also for helping us get everything going for that. It's a big lift. Just readiness day is a big lift. But getting Chromebooks out, getting the word out for the kids to come in and get their Chromebooks before school starts really helps us too. Also, I didn't put on there, but since Monday, all of our upper class, 10, 11th, and 12th graders have been coming through the IT office and getting their Chromebooks also. So we've shipped out about 600 Chromebooks since Monday to those kids. We also provisioned 3 iPad carts for our ELOP programs. We added 60 more iPads for some of our elementary and middle school teachers. All of our desktops were updated. And let me see what that last one is. We moved our Destiny service. Our Destiny is our library service it's our inventory service. We moved that from an on-premise server to the cloud, to them. So they host it now for us. They run all the updates. It's a really neat program now. So here is the E-rate and ELOP updates for 24. Our E-rate, we put in Wi-Fi in all of our locker rooms at RHS and MPH. This was a new E-rate provision. E-rate used to say, we don't really like to cover like a team room or a locker room. And then they said, we're covering it. So we put Wi-Fi in all those rooms. So the PE teacher can, if they want to hold a class in there, if there's inclement weather and they can't use a gym or something, they can do it in the locker room. All playgrounds and parking lots now have Wi-Fi in them as well. So teachers can take their kids outside, sit on the grass, and have the kids use their Chromebooks. We completed our networking phase 3 updated MOT, which was upgrading some infrastructure and getting reliable wireless out to the garage, which they needed it badly because they use a lot of technical programs. They can scan the buses. They can do all of that now in the garage. We established a network closet in the grounds building for future proofing for any type of IoT infrastructure that, because from what I understand from Jim, we have a lot of sprinkler systems that go in there and we can, in the future, possibly remotely control those. about being out there.
What's IoT?
IoT is Internet of Things. It's like if you have a Nest thermostat, that's an IoT device. Something like that, like
Smart sprinklers.
what's that?
Smart sprinklers.
Sprinklers, things like that. Yep, that you can control from your phone. ELOP, we did 2 projects. We established closets in the CHE ELOP room and the LA ELOP rooms. We put Wi-Fi out there for them as well, so they, because they're in portables, E-rate doesn't cover that because it's not a classroom, but ELOP covers it, so we were able to get that out there for them too.
Since BOE, they have 2 ELOP rooms now, right?
They have ELOP rooms, but they have existing wireless, so we didn't have to do anything in those rooms. E-rate updates, this is year 5. This is our last year in this funding, so our money is very low because we've spent quite a bit in the last 5 years. So what I'm doing is I'm just identifying older access points that we need to upgrade. As far as security, Verkada Guest is our visitor management program. Last year, we scanned over 3,700 visitors coming into our schools, not just coming into the security desk. These are visitors coming past the security desk into the school. So at that point, that visitor hands the security guard or the office staff their driver's license and it's scanned and it's checked out and they can enter the school. We also checked in over 10,000 students from various offsite appointments, such as if you withdraw your student and they come back from a dentist appointment, we take them back into the management, Verkada Guest, and it creates a record, and that attendance clerk can, instead of trying to track down that student to where they were from, they just get the report from Verkada that says they were at a dentist appointment or an eye doctor or something like that. So it's one less step that the attendance person has to do. We implemented a new help desk software that allows us to instantly remote into a device, whether it's on site or it's off site, a district device, on site or off site. So instead of having to visit the classroom to help the teacher, I can help a teacher from my office down at BOE, something like that. So it's really helped out a lot in all of our tickets. That's it for my report. Any questions? Come on now. You guys remember that. All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike.
Thank you, Mark.
9.7 Educational Services, presentation of the Cultural Beliefs Workshop at Room of the World Unified School District. And the Whiteside, Director of Educational Services.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to share more about our cultural beliefs. It looks like we're getting our presentation up there. There'll also be a copy in front of you, so it's easier to look at. Alrighty. So we want to start with the commitment to our cultural beliefs, our core beliefs, and how that's been demonstrated in some of the conversations we've been already had this evening. I love hearing the appreciation of the welcome back, as well as the welcoming environment that is being demonstrated at our school sites on the first day. Those are further demonstrations of a unification of our core beliefs and our culture. So this started, as you saw, at the welcome back breakfast. So we're going to go into a little bit of background and context. All right. So in the spring and summer of 24, our district embarked on a journey to reflect on our cultural beliefs, where they are, and essentially what you would have seen in the past in the priorities and practices document that lists like the LCAP goals, the mission and vision. And so we took a look at that on this journey to reflect on, do our cultural beliefs align our actions to best serve our students and our community? So through the surveys and workshops, we gathered valuable information. You can see the breakdown of what we saw from the PD survey, which we got our artificial intelligence PD or the starts of it at our welcome back. We also had a request for the multi-tiered systems of support. We've already had teams attend conferences over the summer with MTSS, as well as inclusion practices. And inclusion will tie in just a moment here. So through those surveys and workshops, we've gathered that valuable information and we've got a snapshot of our district's current priorities and areas for continuous growth. There it is. So when you see the results pyramid, essentially what you see in the results pyramid starts at the bottom with experiences. So what experiences do we have that build our beliefs and then form our actions to our desired results? So if we're looking at, for example, student learning outcomes as our results, what actions are we taking? What beliefs do we hold and what experiences are we creating to essentially build that pyramid? If you see the bottom pyramid, we call that the below the line thinking, which is our culture, the experiences and the beliefs that shape our culture. And so as we're looking at our culture and we look at what was on the priority and practices document, we look at, is that our current culture and does it align? And so when we have a current culture that maybe has different experiences and beliefs, it's difficult to create new actions and results. So essentially, it's hard to put new results, R2, if you will, on an old culture. So again, we're constantly looking at that alignment and how we reach that alignment. So that shift in thinking is recognizing that not only do our results grow, change, and transform as we have new initiatives, like, for example, having AI, and how do we adapt and implement AI, right? And what does that look like? Well, we have to look at our culture first to see, in terms of the experiences and beliefs, right? We can look at AI, for example, and consider, is it something that we know a lot about? And does that create a concern? Or does that create an opportunity, right? Is that a positive or a negative? And so when we look at the experiences people have, we can align on those experiences to form our beliefs, actions, and results. So I do want to pause briefly to say that a huge thank you to our superintendent for introducing our culture and core beliefs at our welcome back. But also I want to thank our Director of Special Services, Tori Berg, for connecting us with Supporting Inclusive Practices, or SIP, if you see that acronym. She connected us with Danny Daughter, who was part of the Inclusion Summit in May, that our SELPAs from around our counties came together and looked at the cultural beliefs around our special services and what inclusion looks like. And so we replicated that experience with our own cultural beliefs workshop. And a lot of that, I want to again give a huge thank you to our Director of Special Services on making that connection and bringing Danny into our district. So how did this work? Similarly to the Inclusion Summit, we looked at what beliefs already existed. And so we had some old beliefs listed in the priorities and practices document. And we sent out a survey to find out what feelings are evoked when you read those beliefs. And then what do we see as an organization? What are RIM's beliefs? And then what is their experience as educators? What has shaped their beliefs? Very interesting themes came across. And so we had to take a look at what those staff reflections were. So these statements were the foundation for the start of the discussion of the workshop in July. And so some of those staff reflections, we looked at our values or beliefs are putting kids first, and our actions may not always be aligned. We address holistic education, behavior, academics, SEL, reactively, not proactively. Student behavior is a top barrier to teaching and learning, and RIM is family and words, not action and inconsistent. So interestingly, as we were looking at those themes, and forgive the little gifts you have in the corner here, little pictures, that's kind of a hard conversation to have. It's kind of difficult to say, let's look at those, but we have to look at our current capacity to be able to identify how we're going to, right? And the interesting thing was, we started the workshop in July by the participants who came to the workshop identified their top three. Which of the three do we want to look at and align? And so that's how we came to the cultural beliefs that you see here. I wish you could have been in the room to hear the conversations, to hear how just the simple play on words even. And so if for example, if you've been in the ethnic studies committee, right, the looking at every word and the intention of every word and what it means to us as a culture, as a district, and what that means when we go to implement. And so a very, very thoughtful process. And some of the feedback at the end was, this was a really great day. How do we make sure it goes beyond today? And how do we make sure that we share this? And that's again, we're very grateful to moving on to the welcome back breakfast and aligning that. We'll see next steps in a moment. So what cultural beliefs did we come to? The first, impactful actions. Our shared actions and connections unlock student potential. 2, aligned actions. We intentionally align actions to prioritize students' needs. And finally, future focus. We build proactive systems that anticipate and address student needs. I can imagine that you're all probably thinking of examples of each of the 3 and how we connect to those 3. And so we've taken those cultural or core beliefs and replaced them in our priorities and practices, because as we build together as a district, we want to make sure this is a with at all times, that we engage our community, that we engage our parents and students, that we engage our leadership teams, all of our departments and school sites. Our journey is not always easy. Any journey that you take, there's obstacles, and we endeavor to turn obstacles into opportunities. So as we align, right, and we're impactful and we're future focused, our expectation is not always sometimes what we see in reality when a blizzard hits or a fire or I know there's a little chasm right there. But essentially, those challenges may arise. If we are aligned on the beliefs, we can take on any initiative, any challenge, any obstacle, and recognize that our outcome is for student success. And so to create that lasting change, we must be willing to evolve, to adapt, to align our actions with the cultural beliefs and truly support our students and each other. This is a team effort. So in our next steps, we're going to be working with our principals at our next principals meeting. They're going to be working with their site leadership teams. We're going to be working with school site councils, our PTAs, again, and bringing in our community to look at where do we start, where do we stop, where do we continue? As we align on these cultural beliefs, these core beliefs, what are our next steps? What does that look like in the classroom? What does that look like on the bus? What does that look like for child nutrition services? Does that look like in ed services, in special services and business and personnel? And so we can all take that to look at what is it in our individual space, but also what does it look like collectively? So next steps that you see there, again, we had the welcome back breakfast, our board meeting today, going into our September principals roundtable, school site and department collaboration, bringing that into our PD days, and then supporting sites individually as they would like to see. I know that Danny went into some of our school sites last year and was responsive to, they wanted Danny go. So we got to go. Wonderful, wonderful help. So in our last thoughts here, our esteemed trustees, what resonates with you in the cultural beliefs? Any questions about your chance?
Are we going to fill out that awesome little chart?
Start.
Is that what you're at? Yeah. Are you asking us to do that?
You are welcome to if you'd like to. That's not a requirement, but you're always welcome. Any questions?
I just want to say that that table very much resonates with me. Putting my product management hat on, this is what we call retrospective. And it's exactly what you're talking about. So what have we done well? What have we not done so well? What do we need to start doing? So start, stop, continue. I love it.
Sort of aligns with the question, the PLC questions too. What's working, what's not working. And so I think it's the same thing that teachers and staff are hearing in PLC as well.
Absolutely.
I like how this process is being approached as being just interactive, seeking feedback, listening to it, and then trying to take steps to be able to further the district. So I really appreciate the approach and the listening. It's fun.
Thank you very much. We'll keep it moving to 9.8, Educational Services Report, the 2022-2023 Teaching Assignment Monitoring Outcomes. As part of Priority 1, the local communicator and right side director of Education Services. Take it away.
And I'm back. All right, so this is a brief one, very, very brief one. So if you take a look at, you would probably recognize the California School Dashboard Indicators slide that you saw in June. And you had this packet on the local indicators in June. Because CDE had not released officially on the dashboard, Priority 1, which is the TAMO or the teaching assignment or misassignment, they are requiring that we do move forward with sharing with the board the updated information. But essentially, we already had that information internally, but they just want to make sure that we are pointing that out since it wasn't official in June, and it has now been made official for all districts. And so that's the information that you're seeing here. So I wanted to point out that this aligns to local measure basics, teachers, instructional materials, and facilities. And when you had the little sheet that I gave you as a breakdown of the LCAP and the local indicators, again, that falls under Priority 1. So you saw this slide in June, and again, your numbers were reflective of what we have reported internally. And so there hasn't really been a major change because we were able to give you the same information. It just by CDE as of yet. So when you take a look at the teaching assignment, you're looking at clear assignment, out of field, intern, or incomplete, and basically what those numbers are for our full-time teaching assignments or FTEs, full-time employees. And so where does RIM lie? RIM is at 87.6%, which is above both the county and the statewide average. So, and that gives us opportunity, which of course Shannon could speak to in more detail in the personnel department. But as we look at maybe interns that are not clear credentialed or someone who is working on their credential, they might be in their first 2 years of induction, or if we have someone outside of their field, maybe they're doing one period of math or they're taking on a period of science because we have, you know, a change in the population of our student population where we need one more section. So again, those are some examples, and essentially that is the update. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
9.9, Business Services, an update on facilities, summer, current, and future projects. Chief Business Official and Director of Maintenance and Operations, Jim Zimmer, and also Jim Hadley.
Jim, you looking forward to this?
Every year, can't wait.
Jim loves to sit up
I
here
love
with me. But thank you for having us. You know, Jim and I will tag team on this one a little bit and to just talk about kind of where we've been since the last time we've talked about really just the routine repair and maintenance side of facilities. I think over the last fiscal year, we've talked a lot about facilities and gearing up for this discussion on the bond and the roofing projects and things like that. So it seems like there has been most board meetings, we've had something on facilities, but you know, we're going to just go through. I'll go ahead and pick it off and hand us over to Jim, and then we do have a couple things about projects with the bond. So there we go. Okay, routine repair and maintenance program, which you'll see RRM a lot in references or educational publications. It's routine repair maintenance. It's a separate account within our general fund restricted budget, but it's funded solely with LCFF dollars. So, and education code requires us to spend 3% of our total expenditures on routine repair and maintenance. You know, we budget that in the beginning, you know, but really at the end of the year, we have to see if we're in compliance and we're checking that. And we've usually gone over that dollar amount. And that is really so schools don't ignore the responsibilities to maintain their infrastructure as much as they can. So they do put that requirement in there. There used to be, when the state did fund deferred maintenance in a separate fund, you had to do this in order to receive those state dollars as part of, and then there was a matching fund component to it. But we have, and that's a compliance, what we're doing right now, closing the books, we check that. So the working budget for 22-23, it's still a working budget because we are not done closing the books yet. So we are trying to get finished with that in the next 2 weeks when the county shuts off the financial system, and then we'll just be working on our supplemental reports. But that's for another presentation. We planned on spending about $1.3 million in this category. And what we budgeted in 24-25 is about 1.6. And the difference between that is because in 23-24, we had carryover from the prior year of work that we approved that Jim set aside that we did in the summer. So then you see, and we have some of that already that will carry one that we board approved in the spring, but we're doing for summer work. And so we have to move those dollars to the next fiscal and the expenditures in the next fiscal year with posting a carryover. For your information there, that's just a 5-year summary, including that initial budget. So 5 years actuals, except we're not done closing the books yet in 23-24. And then what our budget was in for 24-25. That's just for information.
Yeah, for our work orders, we did get new FMX systems, so we're all on tablets now. So the maintenance guys carry a tablet in their truck every day. Since July 2024, we did 1,380. Assigned to staff and completed, 1,254. Submitted, but we declined back to the site with 91. We have 35 that are in progress right now.
When a work order is declined, it goes back to the site. Is there any, is there explanation or what's the process with those?
Usually there's an explanation. Usually no funds. No funds available.
Yeah, there also could be circumstances that perhaps maybe it's a custodial responsibility. A lot of times like with light bulbs, if we need a lift, Jim's crew comes in. If it's just a 10 or 12 foot ladder, there's so sometimes that's, the light maintenance that's included in the custodial job description. It'll be something also too that the site can do at, themselves.
Our department staffing, we have 4 maintenance, 2 grounds, 1 shared secretary, and then myself. We have 4 maintenance vehicles with the service bodies, 3 pickups, grounds and maintenance, that's all of our heavy. We have a small pickup that we use to take all the equipment out to the sites, box truck, and we have CNS truck, mill, and technology.
No.
You want to talk about that?
We did add 2 ELOP trucks that are on order. We haven't received them yet, but those were board approved in the spring. I believe at one of the June board meetings with use of ELOP funds. And that is, because of the running around that the program does, food, also on inclement weather days or on days where we might have ELOP open or, we need that staff to be able to not utilize their own vehicles. Especially as the program's growing.
When are they arriving? When are they arriving in Europe?
We don't know yet. In fact, I talked to my purchasing specialist yesterday. So we haven't paid for them yet, but they're on order. And I do not have an estimated time unless it's midnight.
Said 3 to 4 weeks. We have to send them out. They have to send them out to get the service box. Here, one major project going on right now is the high school roof. We started that on the 1st. And we're getting there. A couple bumps in the road with the high school, but we're working through them. The roof is definitely getting.
What's the estimation on that then? I know it'll probably run over, but.
Hopefully the end of October. Projects that we were working on at LAE is we ended up doing the turf, the kinder area and concrete swell to get the water out of there. We're having a lot of erosion problems with the dirt. We ended up repairing all the irrigation in the learning garden over there. And then in the ELOT portables, they got new AC systems, roof replacement, and they got new carpet. And then one ramp was repaired, so they could go both classrooms with one ramp. Mountain High School replaced the main office ramp. And then we also had the bathroom ramps redone because they started rusting. That was done under warranty. CHE, ELOC replaced the carpet in the library. We had the entire fascia at that school replaced, or not replaced, but repainted. We had a 5-year turnaround. The turf on the main playground is going to be repaired because it has a drainage issue. That should start. CHE is the 19th, and then the BOE will be on the 26th. Be 1 week.
I'm so excited to see carpet replacement in the library. That's huge. I know it's been a long time. On the list.
Yes. And then again, ELOC took care of their HVAC systems and a roof replacement. That's the issue. Rim High School, we installed a wrestling light for the tournaments that they purchased. New pump for the boiler system that was leaking. We painted the baseball and softball backstops in the fields. We installed covers that protect the PAC air conditioners that got damaged during the snowstorms. So there's no way that snow can ever get on those again. And then a new wheelchair lift in the rotunda. BOE's getting their turf replaced on their playground, on the main playground. Next summer, we'll get the fascia repainted again. And then last year we put all new rain gutters on the portables and in the kinder area. We had a lot of problems with leaking in the portables.
Jim, about that carpet question that came up earlier tonight in the classroom at BOE, has that carpet actually been evaluated?
We don't have money for carpet. The carpet at CHE was done by because that's an area that they use. So that's how that's. But it is part of the master facility. MPH, we repaired the irrigation system on the 2 lower fields, along with the paw area. And then we helped CNS with a lot of electrical for their new equipment in there for the warmers. And then we had to replace the PIV valve for the fire hydrants.
Katie, so ongoing and routine projects through the COPS grant. You mentioned earlier about being able to buzz in the door. We were able to do that through utilization of the COPS grant. And in fact, tomorrow we're meeting with our, I believe, our prior construction manager who we're still doing some work with Paul Bonacorsi on helping us write some specs to do the remaining projects on the COPS grant so we can go out to bid we have approved plans depending on what we can do within our budget. Potential has been seen and total key replacement is our first that's actually what we want to do first if we can. So we'll see how that works out and see what type of how the bids come out. But, every year we do have fire inspections, fire alarm testing. I think we've all been to the site when they have to give us a warning, say, that the fire alarms are going off and on, off and on. We're just like, I think tomorrow, we're both in the same meetings too, about meeting with contractors, and folks, our facilities. We service the generators, every year. We do site inspections with our CalShape vendor and county partners, surplus and scrap old equipment. You've been using agenda items for that. And then preventative maintenance is largely around our filter replacements, both for water filters and air filters, and then responding to big and small break fix issues as they arrive. And going into some more facility master plan, that unfortunately, the way the budget is, the available funds that we are in more of a reactive mode, except with the fascia. We do plan and pull back some of our funds every year because we did see, repairing and painting that fascia. We ignore that, then we have substantial damage. And we learned that when we kind of took off some of the spots at the high school when we did the modernization. So, that's not just for looks to have a nice, clean, repainted fascia, but that is a protective measure as well.
Jim, just for information, do we service our own extinguishers or do we have a service that does that?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, going into the facility master plan that we've talked, I think, we talked a little bit about already. And I think all of you could probably even do this presentation for us. We appreciate your knowledge and how much that your support and advocacy for that definitely makes our life a lot easier, and we appreciate it. But the top priorities, as you can see, that have been identified at the past with working with the facility master plan is safety and security. We talked about the need to not have open doors and fencing and secure campuses, HVAC, roofing, to be able to modernize our classrooms, utility upgrades, update restrooms, playground upgrades, repair asphalt, new shade structures, restrooms, and athletic facilities. That's pretty much was uniform. If you can remember at that presentation, almost every site had the same identified needs, but maybe a one-off here or there. But then, of course, the athletic facilities were largely at the high school, of course. So one of the things that are kind of our next steps is to analyze the crucial infrastructure such as HVAC, utilities, roofing, health and safety, access, how our current educational support, how our facilities accommodate our support programs and educational programs, and do we have the appropriate spaces? Do we need to we need to create more modern spaces for our students, for the, how our teachers want to teach in their classrooms, and is that conducive and at the sites, and do any of our facilities create any negative impact on our students and staff? So those are some of the guiding questions that, we've identified when we were going through the surveys with our staff with the facility master plan. This slide here, it's a little small up there, but I wanted to spend a little bit of time on it. We worked with a school facility consultant, and due to the relationship with Dr. Saviano, this work was pro bono, even a meeting today. So identified if we were to pass a bond, that those dollars amount, compare that to our needs assessment and the total amount that was budgeted and identified in the facility master plan. And what's our matching eligibility at the state level? Because you're, in the state school construction program, your eligibility is every 20 years. Okay, so once you do a project, you need to wait 20 years to be eligible for matching funds again. So, we've tapped into some of that eligibility over the, past 20 years at some of our sites. But so to identify what sites have eligibility, and how much matching funds could we get from that. So, you know, if we've identified $114 million worth of facility needs. And that was really only basic needs. In our facility master plan, we didn't have a lot of bells and whistles on that. It was a very, you know, just plain fix it and new stuff. There wasn't a lot of, you know, there wasn't a new gymnasium, there wasn't pools or, you know, things like that some schools went, or furniture. But then like, what could we tap into if we had a local bond? What eligibility do we have for state matching funds? And we have, you know, $14.5 million worth of eligibility at the state level. So now you know, we do have to have a bond, you know, do an RFP for architect, construction manager, write plans, get those plans DSA approved to then submit to the state to get in line for that. So what the practice normally is you get in line and the state may have to pass one or two bonds before kind of our tickets up, before we get our number called. But in the meantime, you spend your local bond money and then the state works as a reimbursable. And that's how we did the last phase of Rim High School. We had those plans approved in 2014, you know, and it was 7 years later, you know, that we received those state funds from multiple sources and we were able to get that funding. So you can spend 100% of your project costs and then get reimbursed for the state's 60%. There's a 60-40 match. And then you can spend that 60% moving forward. So you're kind of spending your money, getting reimbursed, putting that into another project. So you don't necessarily need to wait for those state, and once you've been approved, you know, you don't need to necessarily wait till you have the cash because you'll be getting those monies, you know, sometimes a few years later, but then you've already done that project. You're doing the next project. And at the beginning that the board decides to do. So knowing that we have, you know, almost $15 million of eligibility can help leverage our money and stretch those and get us a little bit closer to the 114 million identified projects.
When you says, is this inclusive of the state facility bond that's being put on or not inclusive?
Well, we would, the state doesn't have the money to fund these projects without putting a so whether or not the state puts a bond on the next ballot, we still want, if our bond passes, we still want to get in line for when they do.
So the $14 million that's listed here is based on spending that we already have done or? Okay,
Future spending.
So that money would not be available to us if we do not have the bond caps.
Well, we would have to, it's a 60-40 match. We would have to have a 40% of that total project. This would be a 60%. So. Yeah.
Yeah, this is just what we qualify for, correct?
Mm-hmm.
So as we can come up with our part, then we receive the other part from the state.
Yes.
To complete the project.
Yeah.
So without the passing of the bond, all that money goes away.
It would stay there within the 20-year period, you know, and then other schools, I don't have a schedule of our past 20 years when other schools would be, you know, coming to be re-eligible.
If I may, just for a moment, having, and I sat in on that meeting with consultant. What we're trying to do is really look at from the standpoint of how do we prioritize in what order, what schools would need to go first. And you look at it, Lake Arrowhead Elementary does not have, is eligible for funding immediately based on modernization funds. So just trying to look at it from a standpoint of which schools may, and that's really the board to decide this. We wanted to give you a guidance in terms of which ones are most eligible for modernization. If the bond passes, which ones will you put in the two first for these projects? So I want to make sure that that's clearly laid out.
And literally, and hour and a half before coming into here, into the board meeting, we had this meeting and the consultant did provide some additional documentation that we can present in a different time on clarifying more of that timeline. And if a bond passes, we would want to enlist, with Measure W, our architects performed a lot of the services that this gentleman did, but it doesn't have to be your architect. Okay. So, we would probably want to bring a contract forward to then have that type of guidance on project matching with timelines, bringing Jim in, we talked about summer work versus, what you can do and our weather conditions. So there would be probably a lot of groundwork that needs to be laid once we know if we have those funds.
Yeah, and I just wanted, maybe you can comment too, because I thought as this thing was unfolding, I thought we were being very fiscally conservative, so it was not a burden on the community. And this opportunity just makes it so much more attainable to make things happen.
Yeah, in order to proceed forward with any of these projects, to start to get them into this state modernization, call it really kind of in line, we call it the two, essentially to be eligible for these. We do have to pass that state bond in order to be able to fund these plans, projects, and then also sell those bonds in phases so we can meet these project guidelines, timelines. So those are the things that we want to kind of consider as we begin to start to look at which projects first, at least to have that discussion now.
Dr. Sevillano, are we going to actually vote on this phasing plan?
I think we've got a ways to go still. We're going to bring in a consultant who will then give us some guidance, very similar to what was laid out here, and explain why, which projects may, and then also consult with our director of facilities in terms of which major projects can we do when, because there's things to consider, such as projects that can be done during the school year and some that cannot. And so there's some other factors.
And there's certain projects we would have to find out if we have to relocate students, if certain classrooms would be unavailable, and what would be due first. But we couldn't really start that until we would know if a bond passes or not.
And related to that, Dr. Sevillano, I think it would be helpful if sometime you gave a report to the board, which then goes to the community on if the state bond does pass. You don't qualify for really a dollar for dollar. So I think it would be helpful to have a report like that at some point in time. You, the consultant.
We can provide follow-up.
Yep. Hopefully I can get clarification again on the phases, because you mentioned the 20-year cycle. Is that for the school district, or are these phases
Individual schools?
So in terms of part of what's dictating when we can do what is based on when we have spent money on these sites. And
Yeah, well, it would dictate what we can do if we want to leverage these dollars. I mean, we can prioritize our own dollars, our bond dollars, and not necessarily worry if that, we would want to maximize any matching we have. But if there wasn't matching, it wouldn't necessarily negate the need for a project at a site that doesn't have any eligibility. That makes sense.
Part of what I'm thinking is different school sites are exposed to different weather conditions in terms of severity, and being able to make sure that those school sites that might have more extreme situations that if we can, be able to address them earlier, if possible.
Yeah. And we would have timelines of projects laid out, probably a year, going into spring of next year, we would probably, that's how long it'll take to get everyone on board if the bond does pass. Yeah. All right, we added some pictures here of some of the projects that we identified, and I'm going to give this over back to Jim.
Yeah, this one here on the left is the portable at CHE, one of the portables. And this is the weather wheel project that we put on there. Then next to that's the ramp. Ended up doing 2 of those at CHU. And the one on the left is MPH, the field that we ended up doing all the irrigation at. And the library at CHU with the new carpet tiles.
No gophers in the.
There's still some
Gophers
gophers,
out
but
there on the athletic field?
there's some. Not as many as there used to. One on the left is the high school, that's the Weatherwell product. And then after we get done with that, then they go back and do the white acrylic finish after that. The one on the right is the LED curve from the kinder and then the concrete slope.
Just a quick note on that, the weather weld with the white coating. I've heard estimations that it cuts down on air conditioning needs as much as 30–40%.
On the left is that new wrestling light down for the tournaments. And then the portable restrooms at Mountain High that got repainted and resurfacing. That's just a picture of CHE with the new fascia and the railing, and then the PIV valve over it. The covering of the ACs for the winter at the PAC. In one area of BOE was getting the new rooms.
And one thing we want to talk about money, or the lack thereof. We wanted to, we did have in prior presentations, we've identified, some of the Fund 1 reserves set aside for the prior year sweeps. We had the Grandview, claim that we bought out. Unfortunately, we would report those as a 0 right now because until we know what the this kind of state of the state, the state of the district is with the governor's new budget and our multi-year projections, those reserve funds and the general fund, we don't know yet if they'll be needed to maintain fiscal solvency or not. But we've exhausted Fund 21, we've exhausted our modernization of Fund 35. That's when the state modernization comes in. But in developer fees, we do have approximately $840,000 in developer fees. And it is highly restrictive funds, and can only be used on certain items. Part of our meeting today, though, with our consultant, that they can be used in conjunction with a modernization project. So, able to tap into funds that are really hard to spend, because of how restrictive they are and a very narrow purpose. But when you're doing a modernization project, being able to tap in to even another roughly, $1 million, is that, we'd be able to tap in if we're doing a modernization project, which we'd be able to do if we had it. So that's kind of circling, there in that way. So other than that, thank you. And if you have any questions, either Jim or I, where are you?
Every once in a while, I have someone ask me about the playground equipment at Grandview that's there, and if it can be transferred to another school. And that's what I say is that it's cost prohibitive. And it's in Grandview colors, not any other school colors. And those colors of green and purple, may not appeal to everybody.
We wouldn't be able to certify that at another public school.
Okay.
If a private industry wanted to surplus it or purchase it, we can look at that avenue. But from people that we've talked to, even a private industry, that they can buy a new one for the cost that it would take to
certify
to dismantle, move, and
so that's what my answer's been, is cost prohibitive. Okay.
But we have been looking if there's any parts that go out on another school. So far, I haven't found any parts that will match any other bad parts of the other schools.
Kinder over at Hoffman, it was his report. Do you have any idea when that area will be up and ready to use again?
Finally got the parts on order 2 weeks ago. like 2 weeks ago. Company was very bad to work for. It took them a long time to get us the correct parts, find the right parts.
So, you received them or we just were able to order them? Do you have any idea what the time was?
They haven't told me a date.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
All right, we can move into the action. 10.0 discussion/action items. 10.1 superintendent approval of resolution number 24/25-02 for supporting Senate Bill 1410. Pupil instruction, curriculum frameworks, mathematics, and algebra 1, fiscal impact none. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Who will go first?
Second.
Second, discussion. I'll say that you all have a printout of your packet, so thank you very much, Sue, for printing those out and having them here for us. So you can take a look at each of the resolutions, and additionally attached to them is a scan of the latest version from the state legislative website. And also just to follow up, that this is based on discussion that we took during our last June meeting during legislative report. So that's where we discussed these three bills and decided to ultimately bring them forward here for resolutions to consider. Any other discussion? All right. With that, we'll go ahead and call for the vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to 10.2 superintendent approval of resolution number 24/25-03 for supporting Senate Bill 1411, instructional quality commission, curriculum framework and evaluation criteria committee, higher education faculty representation, fiscal impact none. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Who will go first?
Second.
Scott's second. Discussion.
Funds.
What was that?
Where are the funds for the committee?
The funds for expanding the committee?
Yes.
Excellent question. Coming out of not our general fund, I'll tell you that. It's coming out of the state's, out of the state's curriculum, called Instructional Quality Commission's funding. A non-Prop 98 dollars. All right, calling for the vote on this one. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 10.3 superintendent approval of resolution number 24/25-04 for supporting Senate Bill 1412, instructional quality commission, qualification and prohibited communications, fiscal impact none. We have a motion.
So moved.
Who's up first?
Second.
And second. Discussion.
Yes, I recently had some interesting reading. Richard Feynman was a former Nobel Prize recipient. He was a physicist who taught at Caltech and was in the 1970s, early 70s, was asked by the state superintendent to review math textbooks. He wrote a very interesting article regarding the process he went through in terms of being that reviewer, in that he was receiving all sorts of interesting gifts and invitations from publishers, and that he continually refused, and had been assigned to review 20 plus textbooks. Some of them hadn't actually been written yet, but he was told he didn't need to go through all of them. So he read all of the ones that had been written, was surprised to see that some of the textbooks that hadn't been written yet from other evaluators got glowing reviews. So I'm very pleased to see this, because I believe that sometimes maybe we're not dotting all of our I's and crossing all of our T's in terms of reviewing curriculum. So, and that was 50 years ago. Hopefully we've cleaned things up more so than they were then, but the idea that there's going to be restrictions put on potential, I don't know, swaying that may not be good for students. I really am happy to see this.
For anyone who might not know what that is, I'll just very high level summary. I would recommend reading it, but it just says that this bill would prohibit publishers of curriculum from serving on the Instructional Quality Commission to evaluate those pieces of curriculum for approval. So that's what 1412 will do. It has a lot of other restrictions in there, but I'd say that's the gist of it from experience. And good enough. Thank you. Any other discussion? We'll call for the vote on this. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. We'll go ahead and get these on over and upload it into our legislative portal to show our support then.
So I have a question. Are we going to do some kind of communication with the senator's office that we have taken an official position? Okay, thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Excellent question. With that, we'll move on to 10.4, Educational Services, approval of the partnership between Rim of the World Unified School District and Panorama Education beginning in 2024-2025 school year. Fiscal impact $52,600. Budget source, Learning Recovery Block Grant. We have a motion.
So moved.
Cool. Scott says second. Discussion. I appreciate the thoughtfulness that went into this, and I'm looking forward to what it will produce for us. So thank you very much.
And I think data is really important. Anything we do, get better data.
All in favor of you? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 11.0, items pulled for separate votes and discussion to be taken into consideration during agenda item 12.0. Do we have anything we'd like to pull from the consent calendar this evening? All right, we're starting the year off with no items pulled from the consent calendar. Moving on to 12. Calling for a motion for items on the consent calendar. That is 12.1, 12.2, 12.3, 12.4, 12.5, 12.6, 12.7, 12.8, 12.9, 12.10. 12.11, 12.12, 12.13, 12.14, 12.15, 12.16, 12.17, 12.18, 12.19, 12.20, 12.21, 12.22, 12.23. And that's it. I didn't miss any, did I?
So moved if all are there.
We have the first from both. Second.
Second.
Anna, any discussion?
I'm pleased to see the, which number it is for California Consulting. I'm excited to see that, and hopefully that will provide us with some additional funding on that.
With that, we'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. 13.0, governance team future agenda items planning. 13.1, time allotted for the Board of Trustees to request agenda items for future meetings. Do we have anything we'd like to request outside of what is already on our governance team?
Yeah, I think it was a year ago, we were going to have a conversation on cybersecurity. It was going to be agendized in closed session, but then our IT person was thrown with a big, huge loss of his house and disruption of his life. And we put that on the back burner because, you know, obviously a lot more, his personal life took precedence over this report. But I would like to bring it back. I know that there is a manner in which we can do it in closed session. If we can get the gist of, you know, how often we test, what are the protocols, how ready are we, blah, 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 blah. Then I think that would be great if we can be reassured that we're ready, because there are districts surrounding us that recently were hit this very one. And so I just would like to have that little reassurance.
We provide a follow-up item for that. Thank you.
Trustee Bowden? Anyone else?
I already made the request, Dr. Saviano would give some kind of report on what funds might be available from the state if there is that funds.
We can provide follow-up as well. Thank you. 14.0 future meeting dates. Regular board meeting on September 12th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. here at the district office, 24740 Samuels Way, Crescent, California, 955. And a regular board meeting on October 17th, 2024 at 5:30 p.m. Same place, district office, 24740 Samuels Way, Crescent, California, 955. 15.0 recess to closed session if necessary. I'm pleased to say it is not necessary this evening. We'll move on to 16.0 adjournment, 16.1 adjourn meeting. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Hello? Discussion? With that, we'll go ahead and call for the vote. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. The meeting was adjourned.